The biggest headline in Nigeria on Monday was the inauguration of the new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. By Tuesday, the biggest headline was a threefold jump in petrol prices and queues at the gas stations as millions of Nigerians now head into the first weekend in the new month. There are yet unanswered questions about the path ahead for the country's main source of energy. So I'm turning down to one of the industry professionals and the group CEO at Shoreline Energy International, Kola Karim, for his insight. It's a Friday evening, so I appreciate making time to be here when you should just be relaxing. Again, so we've got these headlines for the week, but then give me your first word on the full subsidy removal. I'm sure you are not surprised because you're an industry person. This is a total deregulation of the downstream sector, yes or no?
It is. The president was emphatic in his speech, acceptance speech, and it's very clear that it's gone. So this is complete deregulation. It's been expected. It's been, as I said before, the elephant in the room that's standing on all our heads, that's been there for many years. And the ability to get it done, the president has said it, and it's been done, and it's for us as Nigerians to try and live, to work through it, to make sure it's easy on all.
Well, the path to subsidy or the morning after subsidy seemed to be the issue, really. Well, technically everyone wants it out of the room, the elephant. But the question is, will it go through the window or through the door? Or we have to lift it with crane, whatever it is. So is this the silver bullet for the downstream sector?
It is the silver bullet. I think the analogy...
I thought you would say no.
No, it is. Look, it's lifting it with a crane and throwing it far away. I think Nigerians, we must step back to understand it. I think a proper explanation to Nigerians to understand. We are spending, as announced by NNPC, 400 billion naira a month in subsidies for just petroleum products. This is PMS alone. The second one is on foreign exchange. So it's the differential between the CBN rate and the black market rate. Here is another major drain pipe of another subsidy. That in itself per month is about 300 to 350 billion, depending on how much dollars have been put in the market. Then the third layer of leakages is losses from the oil sector, thefts and leakages of aging infrastructure. Let's even put that at 300,000 barrels a day. That's in total another $250 billion naira a month. We're talking a trillion naira leakage from an economy. It's not sustainable.
I was just looking at the IMF report that Libya's foreign reserves last year was $82 billion. Nigeria's FX reserves was around 30, 35 all through last year.
So let's add it up. So if you look at the total of 1 trillion, at today's exchange rate, that's $2.2 billion a month. So on average, that's 26 billion naira a year. So in a life cycle of a government in the political setting, 4 years, that's $100 to $105 billion. Imagine what that will down the drain. So imagine what that will do to the Nigerian economy. Infrastructure, social responsibility, and creating a real social service support for the downtrodden, for the worker, for the working class. The difference will be clear. You see, I think reality be told. Government needs to explain it emphatically to people, and also is quid pro quo. What is the benefit to the common man, to the ordinary Nigerian, in medium to short term, once this subsidy takes place?
Now, it's critical that exchange rate is at the heart of this entire conversation, full subsidy, because Mele Kyari, the group CEO of the NNPC, was on Arise News yesterday morning and said, look, now the NNPC and any other organization who wants to import will have to go to the same market, to the CBN, to get a dollar or import currency at the same rate. You think that's the solution as well?
It is important. Again, going back to what Mr. President said in his acceptance speech. Fuel subsidy, foreign exchange unification. You cannot have a proper economy with multiple exchange rates. So who gets the cheaper and who gets the upper. You shouldn't have that. So any investor interested in Nigeria, then the question in your mind is, which exchange rate am I going to get? So reality is, if it's a uniform exchange rate, the guy who's importing fuel or gasoline into the Nigerian market will know I'm going to buy my dollar at 650, at 520, at 750. At least you're sure. Then you can do your cost positioning and seeing what you're going to sell in the market. But if you're not sure which window you're going to get, that's why everyone's left it to NNPC. So if it's unified, it would make a lot more sense. Then everyone would evaluate the business and seeing, if I'm going into the downstream sector, how much money, how profitable would this business be? Because you can then see clear the market is deregulated, it becomes an interesting market for people to invest in.
So, in a manner of speaking, and I'm sure you were listening to Simi Wabote of NCDMB on Dangote refinery. Dangote will be needing every barrel of crude oil that it needs to refine from the NNPC, not just as an investor, but also as a major supplier of the feedstock. They will want other refineries to also function. So that takes us to that critical question of how do we meet a national oil production quota?
Look, there's a major opportunity for Nigeria, and there's a huge disadvantage to Nigeria and the Nigerian economy. Number one, 90% of our foreign exchange earning comes from oil. Today, Nigeria alone has almost 1.1 million barrels of refining capacity. So if you're taking Dangote at 650, you're taking Port Harcourt, you're taking Warri and Kaduna. Just imagine if 1.1 million barrels could be refined in Nigeria, Nigeria will become the refining hub into Africa. Just think about the earning capacity of what that's going to bring into this economy. That's number one. But what is key critical is Nigeria's oil production itself that needs to keep these refineries wet. It's on the downward spiral, and it has been for the past couple of years.
Which is the fossil fuel for it.
Correct.
Which is the feedstock.
If the feedstock is not, look, Nigeria should be today producing about 3 to 3.5 million barrels of oil. Where are we today? About 1.3 million barrels. We're producing way below our OPEC quota. So where is that feedstock going to come to keep this refinery, Dangote refinery, and the other refineries wet? That is a big problem.
Because we've been licensing fast and furious operators to come and set up refineries. We're asking private sector investors like yourself, deep pocket companies to come and invest in that space while the crude oil, the feedstock suffers.
Look, if any government, in as much as 90% of our foreign exchange earnings coming from crude oil production,
yes,
and the gas production, if the focus is not put in that sector, then the goose that lays the golden egg is going to be sick. That's why the sector is very ill. So the key is this: it doesn't matter how many refineries you license. If the raw materials that they're going to refine is not there and available, then they're as good as a failure from the start.
Then we could run into now importing crude.
This should not happen.
From Gabon,
in a country,
Angola.
In a country with humongous reserves. So what needs to be done is, how do we tackle head on how to streamline all the problems the oil and gas industry is facing in making it a fit for purpose sector to invest in.
Now you mentioned gas, I'm looking at the monetization of our gas reserves. How do we optimize that?
Very simple. Look at the dislocation of what's happening between Russia and Ukraine. It's created a mega opportunity that a country like Nigeria, in the diversification and looking at global transition of energy, should focus on its gas. We have 210 million scoffs of gas reserves.
But it looks like the Europeans have gone to Asia to look for gas.
They have no choice, because if we're not serious in the engagement or in our engagement with willing buyers out there in Asia and Europe, then there's a problem. Nigeria is closer to European market than Asia. But if we're not serious, there's an alternative being searched for Russian gas. And Nigeria should be that choice, because with 210 TCF, we should be running at least 15 to 20 trains of LNG by now. And that itself is a mega earner to Nigeria. That should bring another $40, $50 billion into Nigeria's profits. And those are the type of things that's missing. So a well-concerted effort in trying to harmonize a very well-structured oil and gas industry and sector that's producing so much foreign exchange and ability to make that happen quick should be a major focus of government.
So we've got a PIA on the table. Here is it. Here's the PIA. How do we give it? How do we give it a lifeline?
Look,
it's a piece of document, I know, but then how do we make it come alive?
Look, making any document come alive, there's got to be sincerity of purpose behind it. And that is people in leadership to make sure that document is effective. And the outside world and money providers, capital providers, believe in the effectiveness and efficacy of that document. And the industry participants also believing in it. And everyone hoping and willing to work together harmoniously in delivering that value to Nigeria.
Interesting, as we look at Sunday, I'm sure you'll be watching very closely OPEC Plus meeting. What's your take on that particular event? How do you think Russia and Saudi Arabia will be on the same page?
I think we're going to stay where we are. The true position is, if you look at the pandemic has dealt a mega blow to finances of most of the oil producing countries. Saudi Arabia not left out. The United States not left out. So why should we now start cutting production to satisfy a world that's pushing to get more energy? Right? So at the end of the day, what is important is this. There's going to be a balancing of the market, and they're going to keep production as it is, and prices, $80 prices with the US driving season in place, next winter coming. We see the prices where it is.
If oil prices continue to modulate, we think we should also modulate petrol prices.
Look, the reality is something's got to give. It's not sustainable if you're going to keep thinking you're going to subsidize it. Look, Nigeria made a pronouncement on Monday. President Bola Tinubu made that on Monday. Angola followed on Tuesday. That tells you how true the position is. Angola themselves cut subsidy on Tuesday.
I got a point. It's your handshake. It's for the weekend. It's for the TGI. Thank you so much. Get an executive like yourself out of Friday evening. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Kola Karim, Group CEO at Shoreline Energy International.